online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Good evening and thanks for joining us for another episode of NBC's Aquarius, episode 10. It's Alright Ma, I'm Only Bleeding. Some weird title, I don't know what that's about.
It's alright Ma.
And another episode that gave us just a lot to ponder here. We had Sam on an acid trip, we had Brian goes deeper into the underworld, Emma and Charlie are reunited, and a background cop comes to the forefront of the episode because of the 60s bigotry.
Right.
What's up, guys? I'm Guy David. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Guy and a Girl Show, next to my lovely co-host.
Hello, everybody. I'm Paige Bonanno, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Paige Bonanno. Thanks for joining us tonight.
So we are getting closer to the finale. 3 episodes left, is that right?
3 episodes left after today, yes.
And then season 2.
And then season 2,
Season has been renewed. But, all right, let's get right into this, and let's start. There's a lot to cover. I'm filled with notes. I've got everything. We're good to go here. So let's start at the very beginning, which was a continuation of the way it ended when Sam's drink got spiked with acid.
Right. So we just see at the beginning Sam is just on a complete trip. There's lights everywhere. There's colors. He's roaming around the middle of the street. He's going crazy.
Yeah, he's tripping, but were you a little disappointed with the result of that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really happened because the whole reason that he was on drugs was because Charlie spiked his drink. So I was hoping that there would have been some altercation with Charlie, but he ended up getting saved by the cop.
Because Charlie had planned this, you know, he spiked his drink, he went into a lot of effort. I thought there was going to be some sort of repercussion.
And then what happened was, so basically Sam's wandering in the middle of the street, and then he's saying, he knows that he's in danger because Charlie and Sadie are calling him. They're like, he said, who'd you kill, killer boy? Who'd you kill, killer man? Remember? He was saying all this weird, creepy stuff.
It was creepy.
And he was like, death lives in you. And then the girl's, Sadie's rolling her eyes back in her head, and she looks like the devil, and it was terrifying. And then we basically see, Sam says, even himself, even on drugs, he's like, I'm in danger. Like, you remember? He said that. He's like, I'm in danger here. And then we see he gets pushed out of the street by Joe, and then Sadie comes with the car, and she was like, hey, he walked right in front of me, and he was like, I saw it, miss, you're fine.
Yeah, what I didn't get, this was his chance to kill him or injure him or something.
But he couldn't because Joe saved him. Joe got in the way.
But couldn't he just, if they hit him harder with the car? Because it wasn't their fault.
No.
Even Joe said it wasn't your fault.
They wanted to, like, get him, they were luring him.
Oh, they were trying to get him in the car.
Yes, they were luring him, but then Joe gets him out of the way. He pushes him, and then Sadie comes by in the car, and she was like, hey, I didn't mean to, he walked right into me. And he was like, oh, I saw it. It's all good. So they were trying to lure him over.
Okay, yeah, I've got it. I just wanted a little more.
I think they were going to bring him back to Manson's house.
Yeah, I wanted them to do that.
I know, but
I wanted it to get a bit more tense. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, I wanted
the
there to be
trip.
something with.
But it just sort of panned out in the end.
I know, and it was like perfect, and nothing happened to Sam.
Because Joe, who's really Jose saved him.
Well, I feel like that kind of at the beginning was like a foreshadowing because like he saved him, and then Sam saved Jose later.
Yeah, it all worked out. I don't know. I just wanted a bit deep. I wanted him to get kidnapped. I wanted the police to get involved. I wanted it all to happen, but it just sort of.
Yeah.
You know,
what
just
else
sort of
was
panned
weird
out.
when he was tripping so much? Like everything was turning into liquid. Everything. He kept saying, it's liquid, and then he went over to Grace's house, and he was playing with the door, and he thought it was liquid. Everything was liquid. I wonder if there's...
Is that an acid trip? Is that how you trip on acid?
I feel like everybody trips differently. But I wonder if like the liquid symbolizes anything that's going to come.
Okay. Then it was all sorted out because Joe called on Shafe, who saved him, just when he was about to make a fool of himself at Grace's house.
Ronald Reagan was there. She said, Governor Reagan's here. Don't make a fool out of yourself.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
Don't embarrass me.
But again, nothing really really came out of it. I was a little disappointed.
Sam
not gonna
rips
lie.
off his shirt. Yeah.
It was Superman
He's like,
stuff.
nothing hurts me.
It was sort of the Superman rip. I've always wanted to do
that was
that,
weird.
but just don't have the body to do
Yeah,
it.
he was. David Duchovny did a good job playing a little tripped out guy.
So then we have Shafe going deep into the underworld this episode, and there's Guapo's drug trade, Guapo's drug shipment, and we can tell from the start here that Guapo just doesn't trust him.
He doesn't trust him at all, and this is why he's giving him the mission to see if he can trust him.
Yeah.
And from the whole beginning, he saw the tattoo on his arm, and he was like, "Oh, did you serve in the military?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, the 173rd Airborne." And then they had served in different areas of the military, but they'd both served. They knew someone in common. And that kind of, the whole time, though, he still didn't trust him.
He didn't trust him to the very end, but Shafe played it beautifully. But he did something that I thought was a little risky when he grabbed Rick, who was a new player in this episode, and said, "Look, I'm a cop. This is all stage," and pretended to say, "You owe me money for weed. Give me money." But he actually told him, this guy he didn't know.
Rick could have totally blown his whole cover.
I was thinking as I was watching, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You don't know this guy. He can just go up and say, he's a cop.
Hey, he's a cop, everybody. He's a cop.
He just told me. So I thought, oh no, this is it.
Well, it was kind of, we definitely saw that Guapo didn't trust him too because he said, he was like, oh, so after he said that he was in the 173rd Airborne, he was like, oh, so you served your country, now you're serving your city as a cop. Like everything, Brian is so suspicious to me. Like wherever he looks and like everything he does is just suspicious.
And he's always like
antsy.
Yeah, he's quiet and sort of antsy and tense. You're right.
He doesn't seem like the best undercover cop.
No, but he's getting away with it, and he got away with it, and we'll get into the result later.
I can't believe
in the
that
episode.
Rick thing though.
That when I was watching, I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that was weird.
You never give away your undercover to anyone. Just say, "Hey, you owe me money," and even crack the guy in the face.
Right.
Just knock him out. Do something. That'll at least prove it. But he didn't. He nearly gave it all away.
Exactly.
I was a bit worried then. I thought the episode again could have gone more
a
into
little
that.
farther into there, yeah. But then it would have blown everything, and there wouldn't really be a storyline.
Yeah.
So they kind of had.
I just have a problem with I don't know, every episode seems to pan out.
Yeah.
It just doesn't follow on. It's sort of just everything sorts itself out.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like we kind of have like a more towards the beginning, but like a case of the week type thing. Like we had the guy at Paramount Pictures, and then we had the priest that was giving money. It was just kind of like different things were happening, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah,
like the one with the priest, that happened, and then we never heard about it again.
Then it ends. I just sort of like, I want to be excited about the next episode.
Yeah.
And I sort of was a bit more this time because Sam got drugged.
Right.
So I thought, here we go,
Yeah.
But it just pans out. I don't know. Maybe I'm...
But there's not, like, think of the end of the episode for this one. There's not really anything, like, yeah, we see that Sam's dad comes back, but, like, we don't really see anything, like, super exciting that we need, like, it's not...
Yeah.
I wish that it was just a little bit more...
I'm hoping this is all somehow coming together for the big
That's the
finale. And then the finale... My head's going to be blowing up because we're going to have every which way
well,
to
we've
talk
heard,
about it,
Well, we've heard about the finale so far. It's going to be crazy. And, I mean, I feel like these little things, like, all these little details are going to come together in the finale.
I hope so. I'm really hoping. Or it'll be a bit upsetting for me. I'm not going to lie.
We'll see.
We'll see. So, now what's going on? Emma and Charlie are reunited.
Right. Well,
she's come back.
She's coming with Rick, who's her ex-boyfriend.
And she's bought Rick because he has money.
Because he has money. And it was weird, though, because, okay, Emma comes back, and then we see her taunting Charlie, basically saying, like, oh, Rick, he was so sweet. He bought me a snack with his credit card. And just basically throwing in the... Oh, wait, maybe she wasn't throwing it in his face. She was just trying to show him that he has money.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I didn't get that
okay, I thought, this whole time, until literally 2 seconds ago, I thought that she was trying to taunt him, like, Charlie, you have no money, and you don't want... you can't take care of me, but he's able to. But she was basically just saying that he has money.
Purely, he bought me a snack with his, and then she emphasized the words credit card, and then Charlie's eyes just light up.
And she says she's talking to him later. She's like, his dad is loaded from what he's told me. He's one of the car dealerships.
Yeah, big car dealership.
Mondo
lives
or something.
in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, Mondo Motors. So he says he's loaded.
Yeah, so this was all
okay. Because I was thinking, I'm like, why did Emma come back in the first place then? If she's just going to taunt Charlie, but that makes sense.
No, this is all planned. Bought the guy that has the credit card. Charlie, what does he do? He gives him like 3 women.
Well, it's weird too though, because then we see, Charlie's talking to him in his creepy way that he always does, saying like, "Oh, we're gonna change the way the world hears music and this and that," and basically that he wants Rick to have all these girls throw themselves at him. Because he was like, oh, the girls here understand that a grown man can only have one. He needs to have everybody. And Emma wasn't even upset with it, even though it's her ex-boyfriend.
No, she
just wants Charlie at this point.
She doesn't care. Yeah, it's beautifully played by Charlie, though, in some ways. It's a young guy.
He was so creepy.
And what do you do with a young sort of, horny guy? You give him 3 women to choose from.
He seemed really freaked out. But I don't know. So he slept there that night, and this whole time he could have given away the cover.
Yeah, I didn't get that. It worked out well, but
okay. So Brian had to do that though in order to get Guapo to trust him in that situation because he slammed him against the wall. Because otherwise they were like, "Oh, so you're a cop now?" He slams him against the wall. He gets money from him, so it makes it seem more realistic. But like, how is Rick not giving the cover up?
Yeah.
They do swear him in as a deputy later.
Yeah, that's later. That's what he has.
But that was later. That was in the morning.
So
the whole night, he could have done whatever he wanted. He could have
done it. If I was, going back to that for a second, if I was Shafe, I would have just gone up and gone, hey, you owe me money, give me my money. And then Rick's going, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't know. I would have shoulders hit him. You do stuff like that to keep your cover.
Because Rick is not someone that comes by the place often. Like, nobody knows him there.
No.
He's just like a scared little kid.
No, and you never say, man, I'm a cop, give me the money. He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah, he doesn't know who he is. Well, maybe he does know that he was Emma's ex-boyfriend.
I don't know.
So he probably knows that he's like an okay dude.
I don't know. I'm not going to... And that's
But honestly, though, if I was Rick, like, I would probably be a little freaked out, and I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to keep quiet. Like, if someone came up to me and did that, I would probably be like, all right, we'll see how it plays out.
Do you think we're going to see Rick again?
Yeah. Well, I don't know the way that things have been going. Maybe.
Yeah. So I don't... Yeah,
they've got to just... Because they never really stole his money yet.
They haven't?
Did they?
No, they did. They got his credit card.
Okay, so we just didn't see them spend anything on it
No,
yet.
we briefly saw Charlie walk in with his credit card and just goes, sort of flashes it around and says, we're going to Beverly Hills or something.
I don't know if we're going to see Rick again.
And I always think we are going to see these people, then we don't see them.
Right.
So then Emma's come back and Emma wants to hear from Charlie what's going on with my father. And I thought she was going to say, what's going on with you and my father?
Right.
But she didn't really say that.
So Emma's kind of naive in this sense because she's talking to Charlie saying, what do you know about my dad? What is his secret? And she never questions the fact of how they even started talking or being together in the first place. Like, I'm sure that she knows that he was his lawyer, but who knows? Because Ken doesn't really tell anybody anything.
And it was another scene, I know I'm harping onto that, where I thought that a lot more was going to be revealed, but nothing was. Well, right. I guess we realised Emma's naivety in some ways, because she didn't even say, yeah, right, how do you know my father? I saw you and my father together. I would be like
hounding this guy with questions. Like, what did you guys do? How do you know him? What's going on? Why is he coming over here?
Same. I was sort of going, I was watching the TV and going, ask more.
Well, and then she was obviously naive because, Charlie says, he was like, what do you think is your dad's secret? Because he's like, going on with his crazy antics, like the things that he says that are just ridiculous. He's like, there's no past, there's no future. It's only what we feel. What do you think is your dad's secret? And she was like, my dad can't love. And he can't be loved. And Charlie was like relieved. He was like, okay, this girl, like, she doesn't even know that he's gay.
Yeah, she has no idea. And I think we spoke about that a couple of weeks ago, and we're both convinced that she just knew. But
I guess she doesn't. She doesn't seem like she knows, though, because she would have said something to him.
She doesn't, and Emma's just so easily manipulated.
Exactly. Well, that's another thing of what Charlie was doing when they were talking. Is he was like, he says we can only do what we feel now, and he was like, she says that her dad can't be loved, and he goes, that's what makes us a real family. That's why we're so lucky, is because we can all love each other and we can all be together, and that really comforts her because she's like, okay, I do have a family, even though my dad has basically shoved me away and won't love me. Yeah, she says my dad's never told me that I'm pretty.
Yeah, exactly. And we see that later on too with Sadie, when Sadie uses her mum as a story.
Sadie's nuts.
Sadie is nuts, and Sadie was nuts and still is nuts. She's out there somewhere in the world right now, right?
Sadie, I don't know about Sadie.
Who's
Mary.
Mary's still going.
Yeah.
What happened to Sadie?
I think she's still going. Her son's going. I don't know about Sadie.
Sadie's
I don't know if that was I don't think that was a real name.
I thought she was a real character. Maybe I'm wrong.
She's probably based off someone.
I know. So let's go back to Joe Moran,
Mm-hmm.
who was a big part of this episode, out of nowhere. To be honest, I didn't even notice him. I double checked with you.
He was
if
in
he
before,
existed.
like because he was a cop. He's the deputy. No, he's a detective.
Yeah.
So basically, he wouldn't have made detective. We find out first of all that he's Cuban and that he's been lying to everybody saying that he's Irish because he has like a name that could be used Irish or Cuban.
Yeah.
And basically that he's been lying to his wife. His wife thinks his children are Irish. Everyone thinks he's Irish. And he was like, I lied this whole time because no one would have taken me seriously if I would have told the truth and I would not have been detective.
Yeah, it's 60s bigotry, which is just racism, which, just wouldn't happen these days, especially... He's too scared to tell his wife, who he's been married to for 12 years.
Well, because her dad was a huge racist. He said that her dad hated Cubans, Mexicans, and whatnot. But her dad died, didn't she? Or his parents died. We know that.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to keep lying. But I feel like, once that long, you can't be like, oh, hey, honey, by the way, I'm actually...
No, it's the times. We find it hard to fathom it in some ways because we haven't lived during that era. But I think it's just, the times.
That's sad. Yeah, that's sad.
He actually could not, and it was the start of the Castro era and
yeah. He referenced to that. He said, none of my people are over here because Castro's making sure that they're not here.
And Cold War, Bay of Pigs, all those incidents happened in the 60s. So there was, Cuba was about to nuke America, they thought. So I guess there was that racial tension prevalent.
Exactly, yeah.
But Ruben wanted to
get the story
who's
out.
also Hispanic.
Right. Well, he wanted to have a positive story of a Latino in the department.
Yeah.
So he wanted to make sure, he's like, this is a great opportunity because, all the Latinos are having these riots right now. And he's like, this is a great story to show. Because they're having these riots outside of the police departments and saying, treat us as equals, we're real people. And basically he wants to show them like, hey, one of you guys is in the department.
Yeah, and so then Moran speaks to Hodiak and says, help me out here. Hodiak goes and speaks to Ruben. And Ruben just had no sympathy at all. Just no sympathy. Said,
no.
I'm gonna bring this story out. This is a good story.
He was like, I don't have any time for self-hating Joe Moran and his racist wife.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't have time for this.
Bam.
Because he didn't want to help them, someone that is going to be that self-hating and ashamed of their heritage that they can't even tell their wife and their children who they really are.
Yeah.
He was not having that because he's a Latino as well.
Yeah, and he was terrified.
And then he was like, I'm going to tell everybody that Joe is Jose. So basically Sam was like, all right, I didn't do a good job. Joe, you got to go talk to him. And Joe just couldn't bring himself to do that. And
it's just amazing the racial terms throughout the episode. Like even when it was announced who he really was.
Oh,
and when
yeah,
he walked in with the gun, you had Cutler just throwing like racial terms left, right, center, laughing about it.
Well, Joe was even calling himself those names.
Yeah.
So I feel like he learned so long to, like hate these people or act like he did. And he doesn't have any family, so he wants to believe himself that he's Irish. Like he can't take the fact that he's not what he wants to be. Because he knows, he's like, I would never be in the position that I'm in right now if you guys had known that I was Latino.
No, yeah, he says he has the perfect life now. Great wife, 2 children who they believe is Irish descent.
Yeah, they have red hair and blue eyes.
And his great dream job as a detective. He's like, this is going to ruin everything, which it does, but we'll get to that
But
in
I feel like, they were all making fun of him and everything, but he ruined it by going crazy and bringing a gun out in the police force.
Yeah. No,
I don't know.
That might end up better for him, though. Because now all the cops know he's suicidal, so they can't make fun of him.
Yeah, but, they shouldn't have... Do you think they really would have fired him?
No, he wasn't going to get fired.
So what's the big deal? They make fun of him. They make fun of him for a little bit.
They couldn't fire him. Could you imagine just announce that he's a lieutenant and he gets fired?
Exactly.
They can't
so
do
what
that.
Is his problem? So, he's just embarrassed that everybody knows that he's been lying for this long?
He had a problem with his wife and children, so that was on the back of his mind.
Oh, yeah, because his wife kicked him out.
They kicked him out, and he was living on Sam's couch. He was hammered, and he was humiliated, pretty much, I think.
So his wife kicked him out.
Because Sam said
She said, and we found out a little bit more that he had cheated on his wife because he was like, oh, I think her name was Molly, his wife.
Maggie.
Maggie. So he was like, Maggie said that she could forgive my infidelities and he didn't say cheating, but forgive my past actions, basically, like hinting that he had cheated, but she can't get over the fact that I've lied to her for 12 years.
Yeah, which I don't even think she cared about the lying. It's the fact that he's Cuban.
Do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Well, yeah, I guess then.
Because she was brought up in a hatred for...
Yeah, and her dad was an extreme
Hispanics.
racist.
Now she's realised the last 12 years I've been married to one, and now my children are one too.
Yeah,
and I've been brought up hating them. This is a disaster. Get out.
And I've been brought up hating them, and now she's... That's a good point, because this whole time she's been hating them, and now she found out that her kids are half Cuban. And so she's hating her own children. So now she's got to redo her whole train of thought.
Yeah,
her whole thinking.
It was a disaster. And it's funny how they just brought all of a sudden this, this cop we didn't know much. I didn't even notice him in the other episodes. And then he became the forefront of this episode. So we didn't see Charmaine much, but we did see her briefly, that she's still on the Gregory Mitchell, the Louise Mitchell, and that's still in the forefront. So they're still after the prostitute and who murdered the prostitute, and they're still looking.
Yeah, we didn't get much insight on that though this episode at all.
It's sometimes that happens. They just
forget about something.
Things disappear.
Like Charmaine for like 3 episodes.
And where's Sam's wife?
Grace.
Ken was
we
gone.
saw Grace.
Not Sam's wife. Sam's wife, ex-wife, Opal. She's
Opal.
gone.
Walt. We haven't seen Walt in a
gone.
while.
That story's evaporated. I keep thinking. I'm hoping this just.
We're definitely coming back to Walt. 100%.
It's too big a story not to
we're definitely coming back to Walt.
Not come back to him. And we learnt a bit at the end when we find out that Sam's dad's actually an anti-war sort of Jewish hippie, and that's why Sam sort of rebelled and became sort of a war hero, which he did.
It's kind of funny though that when he was trying to talk Joe out of killing himself, he was like, I went through the same thing. My dad killed himself, so whenever I think of killing myself, I think, oh, it's easy. Dad did. But so do you think that's like
it was a complete lie?
It was a complete lie, but do you think it was like more of a thing, like he made up because it's very clear that he doesn't talk to his father very much.
No, he doesn't have a relationship.
He doesn't have a relationship with him, so maybe he is making this up in his head to make it seem better. Like, my dad died, he killed himself, but.
We can
get to that.
We'll get to that. But basically, he doesn't have a relationship with his father because his father's anti-war. Right. And Sam was...
And he's Jewish.
In World War II.
Yeah.
And I don't think Sam had a problem with him being Jewish.
Yeah, I don't think Sam had a problem with that
I think it was more they just had disagreements and beliefs. And I think Sam rebelled. And then... I don't know. We'll get that. We'll get into that a bit, I guess. So now, what else has happened? Let's get back to...
Wait, what about the scene with Sadie?
Let's get to the scene with Sadie.
The scene with Sadie.
They're lying in bed.
Exactly. So she comes behind her and she gives her a kiss, and she thinks that it's Charlie. And she's like, oh, we're sisters, Emma. We're sisters. And she starts talking to her about her mother. Like, what did you think about all that?
I mean, it was just manipulative.
Well, basically, yeah, she says that her mother was a drunk, and that when we get this big background story about so Sadie's mom, we found out, is a drunk and that she's dying, and Sadie joins the church choir to have them pray for her mom and to hopefully save her mom. And then as her mom's lying on her deathbed, she brings the choir to the hospital to sing to her mom as she's going to the angels, and her mom says, why didn't you just bring a radio?
Yeah.
So I feel like this is where Sadie gets a lot of her kind of
that rage, that hatred
and like not evilness, but just
she planned that whole speech.
Yeah. Do you think that really happened then with her mom?
I don't even know if Sadie existed because you convinced me against it.
No, but in the show.
On the show, yeah. Yes, I do. I don't know. But
I think it did happen because I feel like that's where Sadie gets her manipulation and her craziness from. Because she was so torn from that. But then she said, she was like, this whole time, I found out that I was lying to myself because I wanted my mom to die.
It was brilliant by her. She woke her up. She knows Emma's naive, young, and she knows Emma's parents have money.
Right.
So she thought, I'm going to get Emma to make sure she never goes back to her mum, hates her mum, and then we can prey on her mum, which she did at the end.
Well, she says, she's like, I'm my mother. I gave birth to me. Nobody's mother is important. You have to get to the point where you hate your mom. And, that she's basically convincing her that her mom is no better than a stranger.
Yeah, she kept saying, no, I give birth to me.
That was weird. I was like, okay.
And then we're all one family here, one family. She completely got Grace out of Emma's life. And then they took advantage of her while Emma was there at the end of the episode. So Sadie's plan worked perfectly. And now you can see the sort of the petty crime getting into it. They're now stealing. Manson mentions going to go to Beverly Hills to steal more. They went to Grace's house to steal more. They're getting desperate.
I can't believe that Emma, I knew that she was turning a little bit, but I can't believe that she allowed that to happen. And you could see that she was sad when it was happening over her face, and she wasn't leaving right away. And Charlie was like, come on, let's go. But I can't believe that she actually
I think it was completely planned too. I think they'd really waited Charlie and Sadie to the right time and thought, all right, I think she's vulnerable now. Now's our chance to strike.
Right.
And you could see Charlie was really buttering her up the whole episode,
Yeah.
Making her feel good.
We're
saying
a family,
we missed you, we missed you.
He's like, don't ever leave me.
And then he got Sadie to do the dirty work, and it worked.
Yeah.
So let's go. These episodes have 4 different stories in them at once. Did you notice that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to go through my notes.
Well, I was like when they were going back and forth between when Sam was talking to Joe when he was about to kill himself, I was like wanting it to get back to that point because it was such an interesting storyline.
Yeah, so, and at the same time you had Joe with a gun to his head, and then it transitioned to Shafe about to do the
drug deal.
The drug deal. But let's go to Shafe and the drug deal and Guapo.
So basically, the whole time they could tell that Shafe was nervous. The guy was leaning against the truck, looking at him, and we have the cops where the drug dealers can't see them because they want to bust in on this.
Yeah, and Shafe made the right call in the end because not going through.
So he called the cops there, and he was like, "All right, let's do this." Or did the guy made Shafe do this? Like, he made the cops come, or did Shafe want them to come in the first place?
No, so the drug deal was going on, the shipment. So Shafe, who's undercover, told the police officers.
I feel like, did he tell the police officers, or did the police officers be like, hey, we're coming to this?
Well, he would have had to tell them because the police officers wouldn't have known.
Okay, I suppose. Yeah. So he tells them. Why does he tell them in the first place if he wants to gain their trust? Why is he going to do that on the first drug deal?
Because they were going to bust him.
I know, but on the first one?
Well, that's what ends up happening. Shafe stops it.
But, why did he call him then? You should wait a little bit. You can't do it on the first drug bust.
So...
I'm an expert in drug busting. I don't know. But...
So, it's the same with me. So, Shafe found out he had to tell the detectives everything what's going on. And then they sat down and they're like, all right, it's going on here. He had to tell him just for his own safety, too. In case he gets shot or something. He has to have backup around him.
True.
And then...
Do they tell them every time they have a drug deal? They must. In real life.
I think so. I don't know, but...
That's a good point. They must.
For their own safety, there has to be people around.
Exactly.
So Shafe had to tell him, and then they wanted to bust Guapo with the drugs. But
Shafe could tell that they were really antsy. The guys that he was with, the one guy, he was really antsy about it, kept looking at him because Brian kept looking everywhere, all nervous. And then he was, the signal was lighting the cigarette. So he couldn't light the cigarette. And then he was like, he's aborting the mission. And then he basically was like, all right, he blew it. He's a coward.
The cops didn't even want to do an abort signal at first. Shafe had to convince them to do the cigarette thing when they were sitting down. He's like, we need some sort of abort thing. It just shows how...
So was it that if the cigarette was not lighting or if it was?
When I light a cigarette, we abort. And he struggled to get it to light.
He was trying, and then he was like, okay.
And the cops just wanted to do everything to go in there. I mean, they did not want the mission aborted, which just shows the cops...
Yeah, they were not happy.
The cops back then just... They're gun happy. They just want to... They don't think. They just want to get in there.
We've seen that a lot in the show
We've seen that a lot of it. And Shafe... I mean, I was sitting at the TV, I was thinking, if I'm Guapo, I don't trust him, why don't we just do a fake run? I was actually thinking that. Why don't we do a fake run?
What do you mean?
Exactly what Guapo did. There were chess pieces. There were no drugs.
So they wouldn't have gotten in trouble, yeah.
So if the cops came, he would have gone, I've got chess pieces here.
Yeah.
Well, you can't
arrest me.
So it was and they would have known Shafe is undercover.
Exactly.
So the whole thing was a setup.
A setup by Guapo, and yeah.
Yeah, but Shafe...
And thank God that he did abort the mission because...
And Shafe got smart. He responded to it. He didn't have any pre-knowledge that this was a setup.
Yeah, I wonder what made him.
I think he just had a bad feeling.
Yeah, okay.
And I think it was just the whole leading up to it that he could feel Guapo didn't trust him.
Right.
And it only makes sense for him to do like a test run.
Exactly.
See if when they hand the package over, the cops come everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good call by Brian. He did the right thing.
Yeah, and then perfect thing. He was in real trouble.
And then in the end, then Guapo was like, he pours the chess pieces out, and he's like, now I know that I can trust you.
Yeah, and because if the cops came, Guapo would still be on the loose.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Shafe would have had his cover blown. It would have been a complete
That'd have been
disaster.
bad, yeah.
And the cop wanted to come. He was like,
he was going to
he's
do it
not lighting
anyways.
it. He's not lighting it because Shafe just couldn't get it lit.
Yeah.
I mean, the idiot had the cigarette and it wouldn't light because of the wind, and the cop still thought that meant it's still going on.
Right, like why would he be doing that?
I'm going, man, can't you tell he's trying to light it? He wants to abort this mission.
Exactly.
And I'm just...
Well, good thing he did, yeah, because now Guapo trusts him. He's going to be probably like one of his right-hand mans now.
And it's what I've been saying. Everything seems to pan out in the end, in some regards. Same again. But now... Shafe's going to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
He's in with Guapo.
Exactly.
Guapo,
Yeah, now they're in. Mm-hmm.
Shake my hand.
Yep.
I trust you.
Yeah.
So then we go back to the most intense scene in the whole episode, where Joe comes in with the gun to his head. And
it was kind of funny, though. There was a little bit of humor in there when Sam was like, he had the gun to his head and he was like, hey, you don't want to do it there because, your kids are going to be changing. If you miss, your kids are going to be changing your diaper for the rest of your life. Like, and then he was like, okay, I'll do it here. And he's like, yeah, that's a better decision. My dad jumped out of the window and he was alive for 2 days before he died. Like, kind of like lightening the mood a little bit.
I was convinced he was going to shoot himself because I didn't see much more need for him in the coming up episodes. So I thought he's going to shoot himself. There's going to be a bit of an inquiry, a bit of the Hispanics going nuts. But
I'm really glad Sam talked him out of it.
I was waiting for Sam to do all the talking, then just hear bang, and Sam just sort of sits there looking, going.
I wonder why, did he just say that his dad killed himself just to make, because basically, okay, so the only thing that Joe has to live for, we know, is his wife and his kids. That's it. So in order to get him to not kill himself, he was like, think about your kids because they're going to, every time the going gets tough, and it will get tough, they're going to think, oh, Dad gave up, why shouldn't I?
So Sam did this brilliantly. I mean, let's think about the situation he was in. He's got a guy with the trigger pulled on his face.
Right.
He says one slip up, one thing wrong, this guy's done. So he has to act fast. And he nearly blew it when he said, my father jumped out a 2-story window, and Joe goes, that's not true. You talk about your father all the time, Sam. You talk about your father all the time to me. And he's like, no, but it's because I just never tell people this. He nearly blew it then. But he brought.
You talk about your dad.
He brought about his father. He lied, saying his father committed suicide.
But he didn't lie about the Jewish part. So basically, Sam is in the same position that Joe's kids are in.
Yeah,
because his dad was Jewish and his mom was Irish.
And he used himself as an example. He said, "I'm a half-breed."
Right.
So I'm not, but I'm a proud American.
Yeah, he said, and he was like, oh, so you're Jewish? And he's like, no, I'm an American.
Yeah, and you are American
and you are American too.
And you're going to get up. And I thought that was the best scene in the whole movie because it was the most tense I felt. Even one time I nearly looked away.
Right.
Because I was like, he's going to kill himself. It was so sad
the whole when at the beginning he was like, whatever had happened in Joe's life before, and he was like, if I would have died that day, I would have been a hero, and my wife and my kids would have thought of me as a hero forever. And that was like really sad because he was like, and
you could really...
He just wants his family to be proud of him, and he just wants to do the right thing.
You could really tell why he's suicidal, too, because he even said to Cutler, and he said, I loved being American, and I loved being a detective. Now and I loved my wife. I loved my life was great. He had like a perfect life. And now this has just all ruined it. And once again...
I hope his wife lets him come back come back to the house.
No, I think he's done.
You think he's done?
I don't think we'll ever hear from her again.
That makes me sad.
But I think she's such a racist. She's not coming back. She might even disown her kids.
No way. No. I hope that he can go back to her, though.
Do you get the feeling sometimes in the episode it's just built on Sam saving the day? Sometimes?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the way he deals with Charmaine when he had to shake her up about getting the thing.
Yeah, he does save the day a lot.
The way he deals with this guy is great at just sort of in that... It was brilliantly acted again. Yeah. I know I'm a David Duchovny fan. You get sick of me here saying it.
No, but he is, yeah.
I thought that was another just exemplary acting because it felt real to me. So
Oh, that sucks for that guy, though, for Joe.
yeah,
Now he's under 4 weeks of mandatory observation. I just hope that he's okay. I want his wife and kids to come back to him.
no, he's been sucked up by the era he lives in.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Yeah, a disaster. He's a good detective. And
Yeah,
he helps
exactly.
Sam. Yeah.
See, he shouldn't have gone all crazy like this. He could have kept his job.
It's so funny. It's so interesting watching a show where we now live in a completely different time. And
Right.
sometimes we look at it and go, can't you see this?
Yeah,
why isn't this
right.
happening? Why do you care?
Yeah, we think it'd be so easy. Like, oh, I would just tell him, and it would be fine, and my wife wouldn't care. But, like, it was totally different.
Yeah, it's just not like that. And
Yeah.
I just get frustrated looking at the TV.
Right, yeah.
So then that led to us meeting, let's stay on that for a sec, us meeting Sam's dad.
Right.
Which we found out a little bit about Sam this episode more. When he was tripping out on acid, we found that we saw his World War II. He had flashbacks to
Right.
there when Manson was going, who you killed, and we found out that. And then
So we know that
out,
he's killed people in the past, and he
Yeah.
kind of has a...
we found out that his dad's alive, but he doesn't have a relationship with him.
And he was Jewish, and something that, they didn't see as American.
Yeah.
And Sam is just trying to be an American, and...
Yeah, and Sam is completely the opposite of his dad.
Right.
His dad's
Dad's a
a
hippie.
Jewish, anti-war hippie.
Right.
Sam's a clean-cut, serious
American,
World
World
War
War
II
II
American
vet. Yeah.
veteran. And I think that all brought Sam thinking about his dad again, just what he went through with Joe. Mm-hmm. And he actually got him arrested so he could speak to him.
Yeah, I wonder what he's going to say.
But
What are
is-
they going to talk about?
Please, can they follow up on that? Because I want to know more.
They
Please don't
have
just-
to. Well, because it's
Right?
the same thing. They ended the episode on that, just like they ended on Sam tripping out on drugs. And they started the next episode. They have to start the next episode with the dad and Sam.
And
There's
then-
no doubt about it.
And yeah, because I want to know more there. I mean, there's all these different things going on with Robbie, his dad, his drinking.
Right.
Yeah,
Sam's getting real hard back into alcohol.
Yeah, and I'm noticing why they show him drinking, but they're not showing him doing anything stupid
Right.
while he's drinking. He's
Yeah.
still being pretty normal.
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell he's drinking. But so I'm wondering if this is all going to be
Mm-hmm.
one big final ending, which I'm hoping so. If it's not, it's going to be a letdown for me
Right.
this season. I've been waiting for it, and if I don't sit here on episode 13 and go, wow, where do I start?
We are. And we'll have Spencer Garrett with us.
So
So what do
then-
you... So, go ahead.
Yeah, and then look, the episode just finished with Emma robbing her mum.
Robbing her mom
with
and
Manson.
very obviously upset about it. I can't believe that Grace didn't wake up. Like, if these people were... I feel like I'm, like, very aware when I'm sleeping. Like, I'd be like... like, they were all running around, like, picking up her jewelry and stuff. They were quiet, but I feel like I would still know that, like, Charlie was just sitting there staring at her for a good, like, minute.
There are people, and I think I'm one of them, that wake up on an intuition that something's not right.
That's
even
what I'm
if they
saying.
don't hear anything.
That's exactly what I'm
Are
saying.
you one of those people?
Well, yeah, I feel like that's what I was saying. I'll wake up, like, even
Yeah.
if I didn't hear them, because they were obviously being quiet.
Yeah, but there was 3 of them. They were still
Yeah.
talking. I don't know.
And Emma was just like, Emma just let them into the house, just watched it happen. I mean, she's being manipulated so much that she's gonna let that happen to her mom.
She's
Her parents, yeah.
This was the episode she got completely brainwashed.
Completely.
She's done. She ain't coming back. She's gone.
Yeah, she gone.
All right, let's get into.
So yeah, what do you think's gonna happen next week?
Let's get into predictions.
Let's get into it. I don't know.
You go first.
Now, you're AfterBuzz
I don't know though.
TV.
I should actually think of predictions before we go on air.
I know,
So that we're on the spot.
exactly. I think that Emma, yeah, she's not gonna come back. She's gonna be like in this world now completely. Grace is gonna wake up all freaked out because her jewelry's gone, and I feel like Grace is gonna know that it was Emma because who else? How else would she have gotten in the house? I feel like we got to see something else with Ken next week. We obviously know that he had Reagan at his house, so something's going on with his campaign and with Ken. I don't know. What do you think about
Yeah,
the drug deals?
I think you're right. The pattern's been going is there's normally a big player like Ken or something doesn't usually go more than 2 episodes without being in. So
Right.
he'll be a big part in it next week. So, I mean, I think Grace is going to call on Sam that her jewelry's missing. Could it possibly be Emma?
Yeah, now he's going to get Sam back in it because we saw in this episode he was like, he said something to Brian. He was like, I don't even care about this
He's sort of
anymore.
over it, yeah.
And he was like, you don't care about this anymore? Like, this is the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
But-
and basically he doesn't want to deal with Emma anymore, but now Grace is going to come back
I think because there's only 3 episodes left, Sam really has to get involved with the whole prostitute thing again, and Ken and Emma. So something
he has to get back involved with Emma.
So
because he's not right now.
I think next week Charmaine will find him some information out about Gregory Mitchell, the kid of the prostitute, and they'll get him in. Him, is that right? Him in.
Yeah.
And they'll talk to him, and they'll find out about the missing prostitute back in 1959. Sam's going to go tell Grace. Grace is going to say my jewelry was robbed.
Grace and Sam are going to get back together or do something together.
Yeah, it has to go back to Ken, Hal, our mate Spencer, and the whole thing, because we know the last episode centered around Hal and Ken.
Right.
And Spencer's going to be back joining us for the last episode too. So
I guess that's
3 more episodes. Do you think the people that have watched it, binge watched, just sit watching us thinking they're crazy?
What are you thinking? Yeah.
Well, you've already watched it. We haven't watched it.
Right. Exactly.
But we will see next week.
Next week.
So join us.
Episode 11.
Join us again. I am Guy Dave, and you can check me out on Twitter at Guy and a Girl Show. Tweet me up.
All right, and thanks for joining us, you guys. I'm Paige Bonanno, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Paige Bonanno. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.